house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 18 updates and spoilers. Our house guests of the day, we've got Daniel, Michelle, and baby Castor. Thank you guys so much for the kind, sweet message. I really enjoyed reading it, and I'm glad that our videos were entertaining for you guys and you enjoyed them. So they want to know who has the best shot to win with the jury this season. That's a great question, and I was totally gonna do my voting breakdown, and then I didn't. But let's just say if I was on the jury and Paul was in the final two, I would definitely vote for him. If not Paul, I think Nicole can make a pretty good argument. I am a little bit worried though, because a lot of the stuff that she's accusing James of, like sleeping all the time and everything, she is kind of guilty of the same thing. I really don't think that James deserves to win against either of the other two house guests, but you never know, because he does have a lot of friends in jury. He didn't get any blood on his hands, so it's going to depend if it's a bitter jury or not. I think it'll be interesting to see the jury roundtable discussion with Dr. Will again. But thank you guys so much again. I'm glad that baby Castor's doing well. Alright, so let's talk about what's going on in the house. Nicole and Paul are both practicing their final two speeches. Oh my god, I basically have them memorized by now. Nicole's like, everyone called me a snake. You know, she's on that. And she's like, I had to deflect that. I had to overcome that. She's talking a lot about the first few days in the house and how her team kept losing. She had to beat everybody out to stay in the game in that coconut competition or whatever. And she had to convince two strangers to give her the HOH. And then, after that, her game kind of drops off. She kind of, slept and showmanced with Corey for, 70-something days, and then she turned it up again. But, no, she did have some arguments in there, but I've already highlighted them in other spoilers. Alright, Paul, he's all, I won competitions when I needed to, social skills, friendship, Victor. Okay, so then it's the same stuff. Nicole and James, game chat. This was pretty interesting. James finally kind of pitched to Nicole. We haven't seen him do this with Paul yet, but he was like, maybe I'll start out with Nicole. You know, she's a little bit easier to talk to about this kind of stuff. So he's saying, it's really out of my hands at this point. It's up to you and Paul if either of you guys want to take me to the final two, you know, depending on who wins part 3 of the final HOH. So then he's asking Nicole, it'd be really cool if you could give me a heads up when you decide what you're going to do. And Nicole is like, I'm probably not even going to win part 3 anyway. Paul's going to win. You never know. So then Nicole, this kind of takes a turn. It gets a little weird. She's like, James, I was planning on taking you to the final 2 all along, but now I'm nervous because I'm realizing you never got any blood on your hands. You might have all these jury votes, and it would really suck to lose to you. So then she brings up some other stuff, too. Some of her frustrations with James. First of all, she's like, you voted out Corey, and he had your back. What's the deal with that? How many times did Nicole and Corey turn on people? Alright, so then she's saying, clearly James and Paul teamed up. They have a final 2 deal together. And she's saying James was just content with Nicole being alone and leaving her out to dry. And James is like, I was always working for you and Corey. In the back end, you can ask Natalie, you can ask Michelle. Well, she can't right now, but maybe later. But Nicole's talking more about, you know, when it came down to it, and James was the one who was evicting either Corey or... Who was Corey against? I forgot. Wow. When James was, you know, he had the decision at that final power veto ceremony. So she's not happy about that. And he's like, So then she's asking him, did you throw part 1 of the final HOH competition? Because you have a deal with Paul. And he's like, no, I was really banking on winning that endurance comp because that's what he does, but it just didn't happen. And he keeps saying he wanted 2 vets in the final 2. He would have loved to have gone with her. He still would. And she keeps accusing him of having a deal with Paul. And he's just like, no, man, I don't. So then they're trying to work out the jury votes. And Nicole is, you know, thinking out loud. And she's realizing, wow, there are definitely going to be some bitter people if I take James to the final 2, and I'm not going to get those votes. He's going to get those, and then if I take Paul, maybe I'll get those people, like Michelle, and who was the other one that she was worried would be bitter? I know she was definitely worried about Michelle. She was like, if I go to the end with James, I won't have her if I go with Paul. Paul did call her the C word, so, you know, what are the chances that Michelle's going to vote for Paul? So she's trying to figure that out, and I feel like James is getting a little nervous now because he's hearing like, oh crap, she's realizing like I could have a lot of votes against her. So then Nicole's like, I want to do what Corey wants me to do. Oh my god! Play your own damn game, Nicole! You're so close! This again takes me back to earlier in the season when it's all like, we were rooting for you! We were all rooting for you! Alright, so things got a little boring, and then Big Brother was like, let's ramp this up. So there was a booze delivery, they got a couple beers, they got a bottle of red wine, and they were having a great time last night. All like okay, so then Nicole was telling Paul all about her conversation with James, and she's like, James thinks that he can beat both of us in the final 2. Then they're talking crap about James, of course, how he doesn't deserve to go to the final 2. They're saying they're going to take each other. And Nicole's like, honestly, Paul, I think I have a good chance of beating you. Like, I think, you know, my chances are probably better against you than James. And Paul's like, okay. So then, I don't know, I think maybe Nicole is realizing it might be a bad idea to take James. He could get a lot of votes, especially if that jury is bitter. So maybe she really would take Paul? I don't know. But then, if she's going back to what Corey wants, Corey was telling her before he left, like, you gotta go to the end with James. So I'm sure that's weighing very heavily in her decision. So then, other than that, James made a pizza. They pigged out on that. And then, last night, Paul got called out by Big Brother again for not washing his hands after visiting the bathroom. Okay, so like the first time I gave Paul the benefit of the doubt because he was like, there's no soap, I was going to wash my hands in the kitchen. But this time, Paul was like, I just touched my wiener, not my butt. Like, what's the big deal? Nobody wants to touch things that your hand that touched your wiener touched, you know? Like, come on. So they're all like, you need to freaking wash your hands. Ugh. Okay, so today, so much speech practice from Nicole and Paul. Again, not so much from James. He is really not working on that final 2 speech. So not too much going on until this afternoon. Something interesting happened. Big Brother gave the house guests this card announcing the Big Brother Over the Top season that will be starting 1 week after this season's finale. So then they got to watch the commercial. And translation here for them, you're only going to be relevant for 1 week after the show. Usually they have the whole, like, 9 months until the season starts again, and there's new house guests, but this time, new peeps coming in. So they were like, wait, what? That's so weird. Nicole was disappointed because she was hoping the card would say that like, a dog was going to come into the house. Not this time. Yeah, and then Big Brother gave them this big board in the storage room to, like, leave messages for the new house guests, so they divided it up into 3 sections so they could each write their own stuff. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. So, let me know what you guys think, and until tomorrow, much love.
Edit.